Please repeat. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chava Narottamam Devyam Saraswatim Vyasam Tattodam Kiriyas. Please repeat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana. Unto Narayana Rishi, the supremmost human being. Unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning. And unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Yadyantastoya Bhadrani Vedunoti Saritsatam. Please repeat. Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment, from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous, and properly heard and chanted. Nasta Preshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Please repeat. By regular attendance and classes on the Bhagavatam, and by the rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. The translation to Jaya Radha Madhava, which we first chanted, English translation is, Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Braj, the holder of the great hill named Govardhan, the beloved son and mother Jasoda, and the delight of the inhabitants of Braj. He wanders in the forest along the banks of the river Jamuna. And text 31 is up there.
Yes.
It is. Please repeat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Yanam Parma Guyam Me Yanam Parma Guyam Me Yad Vijnana Samanvitam Yad Vijnana Samanvitam.
Hold on a minute. Yad is Y-A-D? Like that? Not clear here. Y-A-D, right?
Yeah. Y-A-D. Yeah, all the three. Yeah.
Everybody can see?
Sarahashyam
Sarvahasham
tad
Tad
angam
Angam
cha.
Cha
Sarahashyam tad angam cha.
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Grihana
Grihanam
gaditam
Garitam
maya.
Maya
Grihana gaditam maya.
Grihana Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Guyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yad Vijnana Samanvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sarahashyam Tat Angam Cha
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Vihana Gaditam Maya
Grihana Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Guyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yad Vijnana Samanvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sarahashyam Tat Angam Cha
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Vihana Gaditam Maya
Grihana Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Guhyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yat Vijnana Samanvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sarahasyam Yat Angam Cha
Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Grihana Gaditam Maya
Grihana Garitam Maya Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam
Parama Gunyam Me
Yat
Yad Vijnana Samritam Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha Grihana Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Guhyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yad Vijnana Samadvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Grihana Garitam Maya
Grihanam Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Guhyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yad Vijnana Samanvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Grihana Garitam Maya
Grihana Garitam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Paramam Guyam Me
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Yad Vijnanam Samanvitam
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Sarahashyam Tat Angam Cha
Sarahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Grihana Gaditam Maya
Grihana Garitam Maya Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Jnanam Parama Gunyam Me
Jnanam Paramam Guyam Me
Yad Vijnana Samritam
Yad Vijnana Samanvitam
Sahasyam Tad Angam Cha
Sahasram Tanagam Cha
Grihana Garitam Maya
Grihana Gaditam Maya
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Shri Bhagavan Vacha
Nandam Yamne
Jnanam Paramam Guyam Me
Adhigana Samamvita
Jnanam Samamvitam
Sahasyam Cha Angam
Sahasram Tanagam Cha
Grihana Garitam Maya
Grihana Gaditam Maya.
Please repeat. Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha.
Personality of Godhead said.
The personality of Godhead said.
Jnanam.
Jnanam.
Knowledge required.
Knowledge required.
Parama.
Paramam.
Extremely.
Extremely.
Guyam.
Guyam.
Confidential.
Confidential.
May. Of me.
Of me.
Yat.
Yat.
Which is.
Which is.
Vijnana.
Vijnana.
Realization. Samanvitam.
Samanvitam.
Coordinated.
Coordinated.
Sarahasham.
Sahasham.
With devotional service.
With devotional service.
Tat.
Tat.
Of that.
Of that.
Angam cha.
Angamcha.
Necessary paraphernalia.
Necessary paraphernalia.
Vihana.
Vihana.
Just try to take up.
Just try to take up.
Gaditam.
Gaditam.
Explain.
Explain.
Maya.
Maya.
By me.
By me.
Please repeat. Translation. The personality of Godhead said,
Personality of Godhead said,
knowledge about me as described in the scriptures
knowledge about me as described in the scriptures
is very confidential,
is very confidential,
and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service.
and has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service.
The necessary paraphernalia for that process
The necessary paraphernalia for that process
is being explained by me.
is being explained by me.
You may take it up carefully.
You may take it up carefully.
I'll read that translation again. The personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. Purport by His Divine Grace A. C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Lord Brahma is the topmost devotee of the Lord within the universe, and therefore the personality of Godhead replied to his four principles inquiries in four important statements, which are known as the original Bhagavatam in 4 verses. These were Brahma's questions. Number 1, what are the forms of the Lord both in matter and in transcendence? How are the different energies of the Lord working? How does the Lord play with his different energies? How may Brahma be instructed to discharge the duty entrusted to him? The prelude to the answers to this verse under discussion, wherein the Lord informs Brahma that knowledge of him, the Supreme Absolute Truth, as it is stated in the revealed scriptures, is very subtle and cannot be understood unless one is self-realized by the grace of the Lord. The Lord says that Brahma may take the answers as he explains them. This means that transcendental knowledge of the Absolute Supreme Being can be known if it is made known by the Lord himself. By the mental speculation of the greatest mundane thinkers, the Absolute Truth cannot be understood. The mental speculators can reach up to the standard of impersonal Brahman realization, but factually, complete knowledge of transcendence is beyond the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Thus it is called the Supreme Confidential Wisdom. Out of many liberated souls, someone may be qualified to know the personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said by the Lord himself that out of many hundreds of thousands of people, one may try for perfection in human life, and out of many liberated souls, one may know him as he is. Therefore, the knowledge of the personality of Godhead may be attained by devotional service only. Rahasham means devotional service. Lord Krishna instructed Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita because he found Arjuna to be his devotee and friend. Without such qualifications, one cannot enter into the mystery of the Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, one cannot understand the personality of Godhead unless one becomes a devotee and discharges devotional service. This mystery is love of Godhead. This mystery is love of Godhead. Therein lies the main qualification. So that's really beautiful how Prabhupada's identifying, there's secrets in devotional service. And he said, this mystery is
Devotional service.
love of Godhead.
Oh.
Yeah. It's in different letters. What is that, italicized, or what do they call that?
Yeah,
It's just so beautiful. It's right there in front of us. This mystery is. In the early days, everybody always wondered, well, maybe I better get in devotional service to Prabhupada, because maybe the Swamiji will take these disciples and go off to a cave somewhere and give them those mysteries and secrets, So I better serve them, So anyway, he says right here, this mystery is love of Godhead. In a sentence before that, he says, therefore one cannot understand the personality of Godhead unless one becomes a devotee and discharges devotional service. This mystery is love of Godhead. Just like if you wanted to go work for a famous company, say if you really wanted to go to work for Elon Musk, or any big company, but you never could get hired, then you could only, by somebody who's been there, by secondhand information, you could find out what it might be like to actually work inside of that company. But when you become personally involved with that company, then of course, you go to work there 5 days a week, and you get to know all these people, so it's more personal that way. So if you take up devotional service, then we can actually be really absorbed in the Lord's mansion, really be absorbed inside that mansion, where He lives and all His activities, and maybe even get to see Him occasionally and take up devotional service. This mystery is love of Godhead. Therefore, therein lies the main qualification for knowing the mystery of the personality of Godhead. And to attain the stage of transcendental love of Godhead, regulative principles of devotional service must be followed. The regulative principles are called Vidhi Bhakti, or Vaidhi Bhakti, or the devotional service of the Lord, and they can be practiced by a neophyte with his present senses. Such regulative principles are mainly based on hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord, and such hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord can be made possible in the association of devotees only. Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 main principles for attaining perfection in the devotional service of the Lord. The first is association with devotees, hearing. Second is chanting the glories of the Lord. And third, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee. Fourth, residing in a holy place connected with the Lord. And fifth, worshiping the deity of the Lord with devotion. So Lord Chaitanya recommended these 5 processes. So Lord Chaitanya therefore recommended 5 main principles for attaining perfection in the devotional service of the Lord. The first is association with devotees, and in parentheses, hearing. Second is chanting the glories of the Lord. Third, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee. And as we just heard, all that is troublesome to the heart is practically destroyed by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and serving the pure devotee. But it says here, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam from the pure devotee. Fourth, residing in a holy place connected with the Lord. And fifth, worshiping the deity of the Lord with devotion. Such rules and regulations are parts of devotional service. So as requested by Lord Brahma, the personality of Godhead will explain all about the 4 questions put forward by Brahma, and others also which are parts and parcels of the same questions. I won't get into the next verse, but I'm just going to read the translation since it mentions of me, the Lord says, all of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. Wow. He's talking a little bit more. So, in the Bhagavad Gita, let me read that translation again the personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me as described in the scriptures is very confidential, and it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for their process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. Just like that rogue, that guy in India, I think it was, he had chains and that leather jacket, and he was, the disciples almost immediately, they kept him from coming to the stage and like that. But Prabhu said, "Oh, let him speak," By the microphone there,
Yeah.
And so what was the first question that he posed? He said, have you realized yourself within yourself?
Yeah.
And Prabhupada said, yes. And then it says, how old is Bhagavad Gita? And Prabhupada said, 5,000 years old. And he says, no, according to my authorities, Bhagavad Gita is 1,000 years old, like that. So he's so artificially puffed up. That poor soul, if he were really serious and can read this verse, where the Lord says, the personality of Godhead said, knowledge about me, as described in the scriptures, is very confidential. And it has to be realized in conjunction with devotional service. The necessary paraphernalia for that process is being explained by me. You may take it up carefully. I know Prabhupada said that purity is very confidential. It's not a cheap thing. I mean, how could anybody possibly get purity? Well, by the blessings of your Gurudev. No doubt about it. I think Guru Kripa said that he needed special mercy, from Srila Prabhupada. You know what I mean? And I remember Guru Das, he told me, he said, I really needed extra mercy. So I was always trying to be under Prabhupada's window or wherever he was at, I was trying to be close to him, So that's proper attitude. Thinking that really I'm just a fool, I really am just a fool. I fell into this material world, Prabhupada says, what can I do if you're in the well and I throw you a rope, but you won't take it? What can I do? But if we take it, then he can save us. So every day in the morning we beat our minds with the shoes 100 times, and in the evenings we take a stick and beat the mind 100 times. And this is needed, because we still have so many years to live, and every day we have to, apply ourselves in devotional service. And the deities make it so easy. They're just so beautiful, and the devotees take such good care of the deities. It's a wondrous thing. Every day it's a wondrous thing. Okay, I just want to read this one verse here. This is chapter 2, text 66. One who is not in transcendental consciousness can have neither a controlled mind nor steady intelligence. without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be happiness without peace? Prabhu says in the purport, unless one is in Krishna consciousness, there's no possibility of peace. So it is confirmed in the 5th chapter, 529, that when one understands that Krishna is the only enjoyer, that all will give results of sacrifice and penance, and that he is the proprietor of all universal manifestations, that he is the real friend of all living entities, then only can one have real peace. Therefore, if one is not in Krishna consciousness, there cannot be a final goal for the mind. Disturbance is due to one of an ultimate goal. When one is certain that Krishna is the enjoyer, proprietor, and friend of everyone and everything, then one can, with a steady mind, bring about peace. Therefore, one who is engaged without a relationship with Krishna is certainly always in distress and is without peace. However much one may make a show of peace and spiritual advancement in life, Krishna consciousness is a self-manifested, peaceful condition which can be achieved only in relationship with Krishna. You know, when the child is very young and he's fully depending upon the mother and the father, then really he doesn't really have any worries, really. You know, but later in life, when he's more independent, then he has so many worries, you know, everything, anxieties, about everything. And then if he has children, he has anxieties about the children, you know. Black widows, snakes, I mean, that's just me. I got that mother syndrome, you know. I have 3 younger brothers, and I always worry about rusty nails. Hey, I stepped on one when I was a kid. And you name it. So many things, you know. So many anxieties. So when we're a child, just like depending on Krishna, as it says here, Prabhu says, you know, depending on Krishna, that's the only way to have real happiness, peace, tranquility. Krishna consciousness is a self-manifesting, peaceful condition. And Prabhupada also mentions in the purport, Manushyanam sahasreshu kastyatati siddhye yatatam api siddhanam kashtavam petitatata. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. And one who has achieved perfection, out of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. And he says in the purport, there are various grades of men, and out of many thousands, one may be sufficiently interested in transcendental realization to try to know what is the self, what is the body, and what is the absolute truth. Generally, mankind is simply engaged in the animal propensities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and hardly anyone is interested in transcendental knowledge. Prabhupada says, where is that department? He says, I don't think anywhere in the world is there a department for transcendental realization, you know, the science of the soul. And yet, they made a movie called Avatar that was the biggest grossing movie of all time. It outgrows Titanic, which had been James Cameron's all-time record, and then he broke his own record with Avatar. But it was all about putting the soul in another body. You know, you take the life force, temporarily put it into the alien's body, and then they can walk in that world and breathe that air. They have to be 10 foot tall, they have to have seekers, and they have to be blue. I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of coincidences there, you know. And they believed in living in harmony with the land. I wish they were vegetarians, but they weren't. They weren't vegetarians. That they had interactive seekers they could plug into their flying creature, and they became one in mind. And then also to their 6-legged horse, they could plug it in there too, and they're connected. So they like one. But my son told me that they've got something new now on Netflix that's called altered carbon. And he says they have new bodies. And they take a soul from one body that wherever it happens it died, and they can put it into an altered carbon, which means the body, this is carbon, you know what I mean? They go to another carbon-based organism and altered carbon. So they messed with it. You know? So they were talking about the soul, putting the soul into another body. You know?
How could they see the soul?
And it's called sleeving. You put like a new sleeve. You know, you just slide right into it. You know what I mean? Sleeving.
So them, it's just putting in the mind in there.
Yeah, because
The subtle body.
when do they ever mention the soul? You know.
They mentioned the soul?
I mean, when do they ever? I could ask my son if I've never seen the show, but he's all excited about it.
They're thinking that consciousness is in the mind of intelligence.
Yeah.
And then they probably, I don't know about this particular thing. But that one that you talked about, I heard that that director, he has been talking with, what's his name? Amala Bhakti? The one who does all the storytelling?
Amala Bhakti.
Yeah, Amala Bhakti. He has a lot of relationships with these different producers and so on. And so he got some information about, from the Bhagavatam stories and so on. And so there were some influences but then I finally did see the movie. I didn't really see that much influence, except that they had this idea of an eternal tree of life,
Yeah.
Sort of mixing the Bible and
They're like chanting together underneath the tree,
yeah,
like that.
some spiritual energy there. But the technology, they're talking about it all the time, that they're going to make it so that we won't have to rely on the ancient religions of the past. We will give you a life that you would live for 150 years by robotics, or by being able to regenerate some parts of your body.
Ooh, a whole 150.
Yeah, but then everybody's going to be in anxiety that you may be in a car accident and not get there in time to fix the robotic parts of you, and it's they're constantly through science, trying to figure out a way to get what they already have.
No one seems to remember that there is a movie out there, and I saw it maybe 10 years ago. Johnny Depp. I forgot the name of it, but he was so intelligent and rich that he even had because he was so vastly rich that this is a secret. I don't know how many people knew it, but there was a machine, robotics, superior futuristic robotics, and it built him a whole new body. And it looked just like him and everything, but he still wasn't happy at all. Turned out not so good eventually, I think he wanted this particular woman, I think he was willing to do anything to...
So they're always looking for something that they already are. They are eternal. They're trying to have the kingdom of God without God.
Right.
You can't do it.
Yeah. And just like in the altered carbon, what do you call it, thesis, or the whole idea behind it is that he's hiring this detective to solve his murder. Even though he's sleeved into another body, he wants his murder solved when his previous body died. He hires this guy to figure out who killed him in his previous life. I mean, who cares about that? You got a new body, move on, use that for self-realization, make it worthwhile, So chapter 9 in Bhagavad Gita. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Idam Chite Gyatamam Rabakshami Anasuyave Gyanam Vigyanam Sahitam Yajñatva Moksha Subhat. The Supreme Lord said, "My dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart to you this most secret wisdom, knowing which you shall be relieved of the miseries of material existence." Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As a devotee hears more and more about the Supreme Lord, he becomes enlightened. This hearing process is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Quote, the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. This cannot be achieved by the association of mental speculators or academic scholars, for it is realized knowledge. The devotees are constantly engaged in the Supreme Lord's service. The Lord understands the mentality and sincerity of a particular living entity who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and gives him the intelligence to understand the science of Krishna in the association of the devotees. Discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement toward spiritual realization. That's a beautiful sentence. Discussion of Krishna is very potent, and if a fortunate person has such association and tries to assimilate the knowledge, then he will surely make advancement toward spiritual realization. I mean, I still meet devotees now who say, remember what it was like in the old days when we all talked to one another about Krishna, and it was just something they never forget, you know. It's like they really like that, you know. And it'd be nice to be able to. And, you know, nowadays, though, I want to tell you something. The only reason I don't really open up and talk much, not that I have much to say, but I would talk more. But I don't get on the internet. A few years ago, you know, I was just checking out to see what the waves were saying. And I accidentally wandered into horrible negative energies. It just burnt me so bad. So I just stay away from the internet. I mean, I don't know who to trust and not to trust, you know. So in other words, I'm afraid that if I talk about Krishna somewhere out there, then, did I tell you what happened to me one time when I first came here? I was sitting at the table up there, and the Mataji came by, and she brought her daughter, and I just was trying to make it Krishna conscious. I said,
remember that one?
yeah, and she introduced me to the daughter. I said, tell me something about Krishna. And her mother jumped all over me. What do you know about Krishna? Oh my gosh, she got so angry with me. It burnt me so bad. It's like, my God.
You gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Who was that?
I don't know. I forgot.
You did that, I know who it is.
But I mean, wow, it shocked me to my core. And these kind of things happen nowadays. Because, I mean, amongst us devotees, it seems like there is a lot more fault finding. I mean, you know what I mean? Look at me. See, I'm finding fault right now, you know. But, you know, and I try to warn Faith about it. I said, you don't chant the Mahamantra at all. So, and you are finding faults more and more and more. It's a slippery slope. And he's been like 4 years now. I said, you can make such progress, but since you never chant the Mahamantra, you know, finally last night he's trying to show me he's trying to be Krishna conscious. He's up for a few hours, you know, and reading from the Bhagavatam. I just hope he
I heard he's leaving, is that true?
gets some realization, you know.
Is he leaving for sure? I thought you
Well,
told me yesterday.
it's kind of a complicated situation, yeah. Yeah, they're supposed to give him a spot, you know. You know, and pick you. That's what he's waiting on. But
Housing or?
Housing authority, yeah. I mean, yeah, for handicapped people.
Oh, good.
If it's picking and it's good, then we can also visit and give a prasad and
Oh,
all.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
He has a good heart, you
What
know.
part of town?
he's been approved for the Pines. The Pines, you ever heard of that? I don't know where it's at.
49.
We can go get him and bring him to Sunday feast.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, Prabhu says, eat Krishna Prasadam, you know, read Bhagavad Gita, read Srimad Bhagavatam, and associate with devotees. I mean, and chant the Maha Mantra. He says it over and over and over and over and
Simple
over.
things, yeah.
But he can't hardly eat any prasadam except what I make down there. He can't eat anything from the temple. Maybe some fruit, maybe some salad, maybe a puri here or there that's not spiced.
Why he cannot eat from the temple?
You know, I mean,
It's hard, spicy.
first of all, he hardly eats anything. He hardly eats anything. You know, he died. His body died.
Yes, yes, I know the whole story.
Yeah, I mean, you
It's a
know,
miracle he's still alive.
yeah, he doesn't dream at all. He
I know
doesn't
the
dream at
whole
all.
thing. He told me one day.
You know, there's a lot of things. I mean, it's a unique case.
So in this place, Pines, do they have like attendants around and things like that? You know,
I've never been there, and I don't have any idea.
because it's all handicap friendly.
Assisted living? Is it assisted?
No.
Not assisted living.
I've heard about the pines in Peking.
Yeah.
Yes.
But he's telling them up front what he expects the place to be like because, you know, he had a couple of ants, he had to take care of them, put them in places like that. Some bad things happen, so, you know, he's letting them know up front that he's expecting it to be a certain quality. He's the kind of guy that writes embassies and presidents. No big deal to him. See, I just wrote a letter to Trump the other day, and just measured. If he even tells me about it, you know, just happens to mention a conversation. Embassies, gives him ideas. That's usually why he gives them ideas. You know what I mean? But
Let's do it.
anybody have any comments or questions?
Christian.
When you're talking about
Getting
love of God, then
me to be
what
changed.
came to my mind was that when you watch this video and there was these book distributors and they're all thinking, well, Prophet's definitely going to say what pleases the most would be the book distribution. But actually he would say, if you love Christians.
One thing we talked about earlier, I have a comment on that. The biggest thing with them, all those rich people, or anybody who have so much money like they don't know what to do, they actually want to preserve the body, or they want to have, and this doesn't happen only here, it also happens up with the demigods. For instance, Raghu, you know who Raghu is, right? He is always famous for that. He doesn't want anything, but he's in between. He's neither a demigod or he's neither a asura. So, but he was born in between. He's either one, but he wanted to be like a demigod. But the demigods always will not accept him because he doesn't have the quality of a demigod, they believe. They said, you have asura quality, you cannot. But he never stops. This guy, he never stops. He goes, fights with everyone, Indra, these, that, to the point, you know, he will go to extreme levels, you know, but he's very good in manipulating the mind. Even now in South India, North India, they know this Raghu worship. You know, they know that if you see astrologer, it will tell, oh, you have Raghu in your chart.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Right.
Yeah, I mean Raghu is ruling you
For so many
7 years.
Yeah.
Or Sunny is ruling you for this many years.
Yeah.
Like that, they will tell you. So if Raghu is in your planet and he is disturbing, it's the mind manipulation, it can go for years. He's very good at it. But at the end, what happened to him? You know the story. That when he secretly went and stand next to the demigods, when they turned the thing and all that, and someone pointed out, hey, there he is.
Yeah.
But the nectar only went up to his head. And so he's like only his head became the demigod, the whole body is still something else. That's the end result of that person. So
Yeah,
it doesn't work, you know.
There was that one devotee years ago, and when he came back, I don't know if it was Mayapur or Dham, but and he met Brahmananda, I believe, and he says, "Where have you been?" And he said, "Well, I've been to see an astrologer." Why? And he said, "Well, you know, Prabhupada said that you don't need to add anything to this process." He says, "Well, I want to hear what Prabhupada has to say about it." And so he arranged it for him to meet Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, he asked the devotee, so you went to see an astrologer? And he said, yes, Sri Prabhupada. And asked which one it was he went to see. And so what did he tell you? Well, Prabhupada, he said that I've got, Rahu for so many more years, all these years, so many more years. and he gave me this, I forgot what he's called it, I guess you wear it, you know, for protection from Rahu. And so Prabhu said, you know, Krishna was one slight kick. Kick off hundreds of thousands of Rahus very easily, you know. And so that devotee threw that thing off. And Vrindavan, I think he said. So it's probably still there. I don't care. The way he said it, though, was almost like his mind was still thinking about it. I don't care what it is. You know, I really don't care. But interesting. Wow, there's a pure devotee of God right there in front of you. If you got any questions, just ask him, you know. Try to get his mercy, you know. Wow.
And his last argument was, Raghu's argument, is that though three of them are immortal, he believes like Vishnu, Shiva and Brahma. You know, if they drank the nectar and they are like immortal like that, so I can be like them too. He's like extreme. He just wants to be like them, but he did not succeed. He tried though, he really put a battle up on that.
Here's what Prabhupada said. He said, a devotee is expert. This means that he is willing to do anything. He does not say because he is a Brahmana, he cannot do a menial task. And that's from the Vaishnava behavior and the 26 qualities of a devotee. And Prabhupada said, a devotee is respectful. Yes. Every one of us should be ideal to the other, so everyone can get impetus to make progress more and more. And of course, this reminds me of a movie a long time ago, and maybe someone else might remember it also. It says, yes, every one of us should be ideal to one another, so everyone can get impetus to make progress more and more. And the movie was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So we should be excellent to one another. Remember that?
Yeah.
We should be excellent to one another. Yeah. There's so many things people take, I think, from Krishna consciousness. Because you'll hear it in the song. There it is. Right there in the song. It'll be right there. Something Prabhupada said a long time ago.
That reminded me of when you watch that movie, the Hare Krishna movie, when you're talking about that's how people take up things. And in that movie, there was this lady, I think it was called the 70s show, and the lady was out, and she wasn't having a good day, she was like really upset and everything. And she met the Hare Krishna.
Really?
When she came back, she said, I was having a bad day, but then these nice people, the Hare Krishna, they gave me some rice, they sang me a song, and I was ready to go in that van, but I had to go home. But,
I love it. I love it. Well, you know, I guess I've told this before. I know I have, but probably been a while. But there was that one time I got to experience that in person. And I was wearing my karma clothes. And I had brought... Remember? You were probably there, Manajan. Oh, yeah. Mother Krishna. How many? 3 or 4 or 5 that I brought down for kirtan. And so we were walking along, and then I started walking ahead of him, maybe about 30 feet. So nobody knew I was Hare Krishna because I had my karma clothes on. And then, so this gentleman was come around and open up the door for his wife to get out of the car. He said, look, honey, it's the Krishnas. Yeah. He was all excited. He was all excited. I thought, wow, that is so cool, you know. It's the Krishnas. He was excited, you know, because he didn't know. I was right there. I was walking right by the car. And the devotees were back there about 30 feet back, doing kirtan, walking along. So here's this is one last thing nice to think about. Therefore, Rupa Goswami has introduced the system of regulatory principles, which I have taught you also. These regulatory principles, such as rising before 4 a.m. for Mangalarti, chanting 16 rounds minimum on beads daily, reading books, going for the street sankirtan, preaching to anyone and everyone, offering the prasad like that. These principles of devotional service are there to safeguard us from Maya's attack by keeping us always enthusiastic. If we strictly observe these principles, we shall remain always enthusiastic. These are the sources and the maintainers of our enthusiasm to serve Krishna. These are the sources and the maintainers of our enthusiasm to serve Krishna. Enthusiasm is a very important part of Krishna consciousness.
Where do you get it?
Well, Prabhupada said here, therefore Rupa Goswami has introduced this system of regulatory principles, which I have taught you also. These regulatory principles, such as rising before 4 a.m. for Mangalarti, chanting 16 rounds minimum on beats daily, reading books, going for street sankirtan, preaching.
That's where you get it.
Here's a sweet one. Preaching to anyone and everyone. Offering the prasad. Like that, these principles of devotional service are there to safeguard us from Maya's attack by keeping us always enthusiastic. If we strictly observe these principles, we shall remain always enthusiastic. These are the sources and the maintainers of our enthusiasm to serve Krishna.
And to my realization, I haven't been here a while. You have to go out to me. What came to my mind was how you were saying how when you meet people, we should tell them about Krishna. And I mean, I don't have that in me, but I see it in you. When I was going on and married on Krishna, when we be going back, even in a hardware store, we come running out and saying, "Give me a book, give me a book. There's a person in there that wants us to know about Krishna consciousness." So I see how Lord Chaitanya is. Because the desire is there.
Well, I can tell you.
They come. They come in the Walmart, they come in the hardware store, in the gas station.
I know exactly where my enthusiasm that I have came from. It came from my older godbrothers. Pragosh, Vaishishika, those devotees. I was very cocky, cocky. Well, I didn't see him that much, but he was right over there.
He was here for last
Yeah, I met him. He's on Facebook, even though I don't know how to get on Facebook necessarily.
I'm going to turn this off now.
Okay.